Vice President Kamala Harris sat down with Charlamagne the God yesterday for an hour-long conversation, wide-ranging conversation of talking points that she's already said before.
As you know, folks say you come off as very scripted. They say you like to stick to your talking points, and some media says you have.
That would be called discipline.
Oh, okay. Speak to that.
But go on.
No, I was going to say some people say you have an inability to fearlessly say who you are and what you believe. I know that's not true. But what do you say to that criticism?
You know, she calls it discipline. She says this is me staying on message, and people are supposed to appreciate her for that. But it really looks terrible all back to back. And the worst thing about this is that, to me, she comes off as a conspiracy theorist.
Donald Trump has been very clear that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. He has been very clear that he would take out the independent folks who are in there and put in there instead his loyalists. So understand, again, you talk about, because this brings back to exactly your point about threats to our democracy. Donald Trump is about taking us backward. Donald Trump and his followers spend full time trying to suggest that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down. Ask Donald Trump what his plan is for Black America. Ask him. I'll tell you what it is. Look at Project 2025. Project 2025 tells you the plan includes making police departments have stop and frisk policies. The plan includes making it more difficult for workers to receive overtime pay. The plan includes ending the ability of Medicare to negotiate drug prices. You know what we have done? He said he would. We did. Which means that's how we brought down the cost of prescription medication. His plan includes making it more difficult for working people to get by and to destroy our democracy. You know what he says he'll do? Terminate the Constitution of the United States.
That's right.
Let me remind folks, you know what's in the Constitution of the United States? The Fourth Amendment, which protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. The Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and he's going to terminate the Constitution of the United States, would go into the Department of Justice and manipulate it in such a way that it would be used as a weapon against his political enemies.
Yeah, he's going to lock y'all up if he gets back in office.
Well, by the way, you should look at his words. I don't think that you as a journalist should feel so sure that
100%. I'm out of here.
Journalists, judges, others. And you know who does that? Dictators do that. Other countries do that, which is say that you're going to send, as he has, the military to go and suppress peaceful protesters. That happens in other countries. That's not supposed to happen in America. So do understand when this man says what he says, how that would play out in real time. It's a sign of weakness that you want to please dictators and seek their flattery and favor. It's a sign of weakness that you would demean America's military and America's service members. It's a sign of weakness that you don't have the courage to stand up for the Constitution of the United States and the principles upon which it stands. This man is weak and he is unfit.
She's put together a bunch of talking points about how bad Donald Trump is. And so now when you hear him back to back to back, it just sounds like pure speculation, like there's no facts backing it up whatsoever. This is pretty sad, and it's a sad last-ditch effort to get the attention of Black male voters, but somebody told her this was a good idea 21 days out. So it's funny that a lot of times the Democrats say the Russians were so involved in disinformation.
By the way, do not forget, in the 2016 election, because I was a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee when we investigated it, targeted Black voters in 2016 with mis and disinformation to discourage Black people from voting in that election. And this is just another of the very many examples of who Donald Trump really is,
yes,
and the danger he presents.
But what they don't admit is that there were Democrat operatives doing the same things online. One in particular, the American Descendants of Slavery organization online was targeted. And a lot of people said that they were Russian bots. So you got innocent American people who are out here doing their own advocacy work, and they're being targeted and called Russian misinformation. And she said she sat on the intelligence committee. She's literally probably aware of this fact, but still comes out here and says that there's so much Russian misinformation and that they were leading. Sure, there were definitely some Russian targeting, but the fact that you're still using this and not talking about the other side of it, it really makes it seem like you're being dishonest. All these questions were pre-screened, pre-selected. This is not a natural occurrence at all. This was the most manufactured town hall I've ever seen. Because it takes place at a radio station. Everything's pre-recorded. Everything except for this one conversation where you've got Charlamagne the God literally standing there. And instead of letting her answer a question, sometimes he's leading her into the question. He's answering the question for her and then leading her into some talking points so she can say a set speech again.
So why is everybody sitting around acting like Donald Trump isn't going to plan to steal this election if he loses? Like, you know, Republican officials won't certify the results of the election. We know it's Donald Trump's Supreme Court. Why are people acting like this is going to be a free and fair election? And he won't try to steal it.
Well, but those are two different points.
Okay.
So it will be a free and fair election if we, the American people, stand up for that. You know, I see it as this. I think that democracy it's like 2 points of nature. One, there's a fact about a democracy that when it is intact, the strength that it possesses in terms of the protection of people's individual rights and liberties. When a democracy is intact, we protect your rights and your liberties. Strength. Democracy is also very fragile.
I had to make sure you get that right. Now, have you seen the clip, Madam Vice President, from the Griot? It's a clip that's kind of out of context, and it says that you won't do anything specifically for Black people. Have you seen that? Have you?
I have not seen that.
Well, it's a clip that has you saying that you're not going to do anything specifically for Black people.
Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
That's our most famous clip, by the way. That is literally the clip that has gone around the world 3 times, that has been viral since it was released. Are you saying you didn't say that? When it's quite obvious you did, and you meant what you said when you were running for president in 2020.
So my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister, and by the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first home. I know what it means for an individual and a family to have home ownership. I also know, in the context of history, nobody got 40 acres and a mule.
Either way, I'm glad she's finally out there doing interviews after all this time of holding back. You see, it wasn't that hard. But the fact that you got out here and you still bombed, this is going to be as softball an environment as you're ever going to get. Sitting across from world leaders is not going to be this easy. And unfortunately, if we have to do this much coddling, are you the right person for the job? Probably not. But either way, let me know what you think about it in the comments. I'll be glad when this thing is over, man. It's